Did you watch the end of The Mandalorian Season 2 and say, wow, I want another Mandalorian action figure, another Moff Gideon, and another Grogu? No, you probably wanted a Luke Skywalker and a bunch of Dark Troopers. Or at least maybe some new variants of figures that aren't already so common. But this is what we ended up with, and it isn't the worst thing possible. If you're like me and you don't already have a pretty good Din Djarin figure and you don't even have a Moff Gideon or a Dark Trooper, then there is some value here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the fact that this set has some really big and elaborate packaging and the fact that it is $90 may have some people believing that there's something crazy special about this and that we don't just get 3 figures and some accessories on the inside. But in all reality, it really just is a glorified special action figure pack for almost double the price. In regards to the packaging, you do get these nice images on the front with all of the figures and, of course, the Mandalorian logo. Over on the other side, it is just the same thing. On the top, there is some more images kind of recreating some scenes. On the bottom, there's nothing. On the side, there is some Imperial walls. And on this side, more Imperial walls with a bit of a description of the set. All you got to do to open it up is just slide out the sleeve. And yeah, I've already taken the figures out, but that's basically what you get. It's just some prints on some cardboard to recreate some scenes from the show. Nothing that particularly screams like premium quality. The other side is just more Imperial walls, so there's nothing on the top or bottom. And that really is it for the packaging. To get the figures out, you just open up the doors on the side and slide out those cardboard trays. They're going to be inside their own plastic trays, the figures, and you just got to cut off those little plastic tie things. So the packaging is pretty cool, but when it's something that is only $10 away from a whole Benjamin, I'd have to say it's extremely overpriced, even with the figures. And talking about the figures themselves, we do get 3 of them, and then also a Grogu on top of that. First off, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Dark Trooper. Now, this is definitely the most exclusive figure to the set. We are going to be getting a deluxe release of the Dark Trooper in the Vintage Collection, but that's going to be of the normal Dark Trooper. This is the damaged version. Now, as you can see, it does have these flame effects, which you can take off. But on his helmet, he has these extra bits of molding in there and also some battle damage molded in, which is what makes him exclusive to this set. You do get his blaster for an accessory, which looks pretty cool, but there really isn't any paint apps or anything on there. As it goes for articulation on this guy, you do get some good range up at the neck and the head. You do have shoulder articulation, but it's actually all on ball hinges, pretty much everything is. And that's kind of unfortunate, and a lot of the joints here are very stiff, especially the shoulders. You do get a ball joint in the ab crunch right here, which is decent. And you do just have ball joints at the hips, which is really good. The knees can go back a decent amount. You even have ankle pivots and all that kind of stuff. So the articulation here isn't bad, but the joints are pretty stiff and it's annoying to get this guy to stand up. The figure does look pretty good though. You've got some nice accents of silver to break apart the machinery details. And you've also got some red paint in there for the buttons on the chest and the eyes on the helmet. And it's just this really cool kind of robotic design. I really like the Dark Trooper design that they've come up with for the Mandalorian. Although I would like to see some of the previous versions of the Dark Troopers released in the Vintage Collection, like the ones from The Force Unleashed, as those are pretty cool. And in the head mold right here, there is a hole going through, which actually goes through all the way through the mold. I think you should be able to get the spear to go in there, but I haven't gotten that to work, so who knows? And then you've also got the flame effects for this guy because Mandalorian does come with a flamethrower effect. And, of course, in the show, well, at least I think in the show, he lit up on fire, the Dark Trooper did. So you can get those flame effects wrapped around him, and it looks pretty cool. You also get some alternate hands for the Dark Trooper. They're just fists, one for each arm, so you can show him punching in Mando's helmet. Next up, we've got Moff Gideon. And I haven't had a Moff Gideon figure before, so this is pretty cool. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same as the single card release, I don't really have that one to compare, but I know that there are some differences so that this figure can be exclusive to this set. And at the face up there, you do have some paint apps that make his hair look a bit more gray, and that's exclusive to this version of the figure. And of course, you also have the soft goods cape, which also makes this figure exclusive. Of course, the body is the same mold from the single card release, and I think the head sculpt is as well. But as it goes for all the paint apps on the body, I couldn't tell you if they were exclusive or not. That face sculpt and the paint apps on it do look pretty good though, so you can see how you might be able to confuse him for a certain someone. And the paint apps on the rest of the body look pretty good as well. That's what it looks like underneath the cape, and I've always really liked the costume design for Moff Gideon. As for articulation, you can get the head to look down that much, and it just popped off, so I guess be careful for that. But you do get some good range of motion there. And of course you got the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists. You do get a decent ab crunch going on. You do have ball hinges at the hips, which is unfortunate. You've got the thigh cut and everything there. The knees go back this far. You do get the ankle articulation and everything. So articulation isn't too bad, but it's not insane. I will also say you might want to be careful with the soft goods cape as it can get creased kind of easily. I already got it creased right there, which is unfortunate, but oh well. And then for accessories, you do have this pistol that can be holstered right here. There's no paint apps on it. It's just molded in black. And of course, you also get the fabled Darksaber. It actually looks pretty good. There's some white paint apps along the edges, so it looks like it's glowing. You don't get those little lightning effects inside of it, but it still looks pretty nice. Better than the Lego version, at least. And after that, we have Mando. This is one of the best Mando figs we've gotten in a while. I guess you could say that that deluxe pack version with all of that Beskar could be better because it looks more accurate, but with this one you do get the soft goods cape, and the only other time we get that is the version that comes in the HasLab Razor Crest, which I am not getting. And the soft goods here are pretty good. They fit over the figure pretty well, and the tattering details look pretty cool. You can even fit it underneath the jetpack, so it can be like how it is in the show. And as for the jetpack, it's literally just silver. It's nothing crazy. And it attaches in that weird looking hole in his back right there. It doesn't go in all the way, so you kind of just have to stick it in there and hope it doesn't fall out. Of course, the helmet looks pretty amazing. The visor paint looks pretty good on mine. But this is once again just a reuse of the Mando figure that we're used to. The articulation is good. It is a little bit hindered by the armor, but it does what it needs to do. The ab crunch is good. We do have just ball hinges on the hips. Once again, I'm not really going to mess with those because those are really annoying. Thigh cuts, knee, ankle articulation. You got the pivot and everything right there. So articulation isn't bad, but you know how it goes with this figure. It is pretty common at this point, and I'm glad that I have this version with the soft goods, and it has all of these extra paint apps on there. If you can tell, all these extra details that just make it look more accurate. So it is one of the better versions of Din Djarin, but I already have two other versions. I'm going to compare them to this one a little bit later. But all in all, this figure does look really good. You do get these extra peg holes on both of the gauntlets where you could stick in the whistling birds and flamethrower effects. For the whistling birds, you actually have this little piece right there that can just slide out, and you put it in there whenever, I guess, the whistling birds are deactivated and they're just resting in the gauntlet, which is a pretty cool detail that they included that. And right here is the whistling bird effects, just some minimal paint apps on there, but you can peg it into the peg hole on the gauntlet right there, and you can have him shooting them out. You can then do the same thing with the flamethrower effect on the other gauntlets, and he could be all armed up and ready to fight the Dark Troopers. These special effects are nice, but they do not help the figure stand up, and they're just kind of annoying to deal with when I just want to have the figure on display. So I'm not going to display them with the figure. As for the other accessories, you do get his blaster, which can be holstered right here. You also get his Beskar spear, which can fit into his hands, and he does hold it decently, although this hand right here, the upper hand, can let go of it pretty easily. So it is slightly annoying, but you can get him to hold it. You just kind of got to be careful. Man, I really just do not like the articulation on this figure. I'm not even gonna display him like that. He can just hold the spear like, and as you can see, it just slips out of his hand if you don't hold it with both hands, so I'm just not dealing with it right now. But if you can get him holding it in both hands, it does look decent. And yeah, I don't know. This figure is a little bit annoying, but it does look good in the end. So I like it. It is my favorite Mando figure that I have. It's just slightly annoying. And when comparing this guy to the two other Mando figures I have, I still have to say he is my favorite. They all look pretty cool together, although I do really love this version with the ice on it from Mediocrity, and the original one will always have a special place in my heart. But this new one is just objectively better. Finally, we do get another version of Grogu, and it's Grogu. There really isn't much to be said about it. You do have these handcuffs that are on him, and I think they can be removed. Yeah, you could take him off like that. But honestly, seeing Baby Yoda sad and in prison just puts a smile on my face, so I'm going to keep him like that. Well, that about does it for my review of this thing. You get cool new versions of figures that we already have in the normal vintage collection line. But if you don't already have some of them, then they are definitely the ones to get. The packaging is cool, but it is not worth the price. And honestly, the figures are not either. They're not bad, but they all have their own little annoyances that just get to me, and they aren't really of characters that I'm super in love with, so I just can't justify this being worth $90. And let's be honest, they all did it because it's the Hasbro PulseCon exclusive, so they gotta make you pay extra for that, and it's versions of very popular figures, so they're gonna add even more on top of that, and it's just gonna end up being something that is not worth the price. So in the end, I really do not recommend getting it, especially since it's not up for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse anymore, so you can't even get it for the retail price. I would not recommend paying extra for this. Just get the normal releases of the figures. And really, that's all I have to say about this. Don't forget to leave any thoughts you have in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.